Hi guys, 18Dapper here and welcome to this video. Before we make a start on it, I've got a quick announcement. I have been lucky enough to be selected to represent Doncaster Rovers once again in the Evestrust Legends charity game at the Eco Power Stadium on the 7th of May. Tickets are available, hit me up on my socials, and a link to my donation page is in the description down below. Every little helps towards this fantastic charity in and around Doncaster. If you want to know more, please get in touch and I will gladly talk you through it. But yeah, any support will be greatly appreciated. With that being said, let's get on with the video. So guys, welcome to this match preview for Sunderland versus Doncaster Rovers at the Stadium of Light this Saturday. It's going to be a very, very tough game for the Rovers. Sunderland desperate need of the points, Rovers desperate need of the points. If you're an existing subscriber, thank you for sticking around, thank you for supporting the channel and all of the positive feedback that you've given me. It is much appreciated, so thank you very much. If this video has brought you to the channel, please consider clicking the subscribe button so you don't miss any future content. And if you are new, this is the format that we go through match previews. We'll look at the previous meetings between the two clubs, current form across all competitions. I choose a Doncaster Rovers player to profile, and then I give my opinion on the one to watch for Sunderland. But you guys know your club much better than what I do, so if you think that I'm wrong, or you think there's somebody else we should be watching out for in the comments down below, please pop your comments there. And then to round the video off, I do a predicted team lineup thanks to FanHub. Me and the family have got predictions league table, so there's an update on that, and then I give my all important score prediction for this fixture at the very end. So without further ado, let's get into previous meetings. In previous meetings, Sunderland, Donny, not faced off too many times from what I can figure out. Only 10 occasions, Sunderland winning the majority of those with 7 wins out of the 10. There's been 2 draws and only 1 solitary victory for the Rovers, and in all honesty I can't see it changing much. Drill down into the last 5 fixtures between the two clubs and we go back to 2019. They've all been fairly recent, the last the 10 meetings between the two clubs, because we've just not been in the same division in our history, whereas over recent years we have both been League One teams. So going back to 2019, it was a 2-1 defeat at the Keepmoat Stadium, and then in 2020 a 0-0 draw at the Stadium of Light, and then a 1-1 draw back at the Keepmoat. And then in 2021 in February, it was a heavy defeat 4-1 at the Stadium of Light, and I can see something similar potentially happening this Saturday. And then earlier this season, it was a disappointing 3-0 defeat at the Keepmoat. So it's been very tough against Sunderland in our history, and I can't see it changing much this Saturday. I can't see it changing much because of the current form. We look at Doncaster, 4 defeats in our last 5 with a win sandwiched in the middle. But Sunderland, a little bit of positivity to take from this, are currently very inconsistent. 2 draws, 2 defeats and a victory in their last 5. But for me, for the Rovers, there was signs of recovery and signs of improvement against MK Dons and Plymouth last week. And midweek we were brought back down to earth with a huge bump against South Yorkshire rivals Rotherham with a heavy 5-0 defeat at the Eco Power Stadium. And to be honest, the less said about that the better. If you want to see my reaction to the 5-0 drumming, I will link the matchday vlog in the top corner of the screen. I don't think Rovers fans will be reliving that, to be honest. Very disappointing from start to finish there. But my worry is, can the players pick themselves up before a tough trip to the Stadium of Light? There's going to be so many fans there, and we'll get on to the reason why later on in the video. But it's always a tough place to go. Very well backed, and yeah, it's just an absolute fortress, and we don't have a good history. But for me, I think this has been a problem all season. I think we lack characters on the pitch. I don't see anybody shouting at players, getting them revved up, and we just lacked any sort of desire, passion, fight, fire, you name it. We didn't have it against Rotherham, and I think that's going to come and bite us again this Saturday against Sunderland. What I will say though, after the 5-0 hammering, the comments that McSheffrey said after the game, I think needs at least picking up on. I think he handled the press conference very well. he changed the system to match up with Rotherham, and he said it's a steep learning curve, and it really is, because the positivity that we showed against MK Dons and Plymouth just wasn't there, and I do believe it was the change of system which impacted that. Rotherham were fantastic though, there's no two ways about that. Very, very good team and deservedly on top of the table. But yeah, for McSheffrey to come out and shoulder the responsibility of the poor performance, I think is in each credit him for that. But hopefully he learns from it quickly. But the players also need to take some of the responsibility, because regardless of the system or the shape that you play, there's no excuse for a lack of effort, in my opinion. Yeah, you could probably get caught out of position and what have you, but every single player should have been getting pulled off of that pitch, or dragged off of that pitch on a stretcher. They should have given 110% in, and I think we're lucky if they gave 10, to be honest. A very damning performance, a very damning result, but we have to pick ourselves up and we have to try and get something at a very tough place to go. We'll see if we do. On to Sunderland, a poor run of results after positive results against Doncaster and a 5-0 win against Sheffield Wednesday at home cost Lee Johnson his job. So the 2 draws, the 2 defeats and 1 win in 5, they'd had enough and parted company with Lee Johnson. So as we're recording, there's no new manager in place at the minute. Grant McCann is tipped, is currently favourite to go there, and I think he'd do a good job, entertaining football, and he gets players playing. So I think he would do a good job at Sunderland. Hopefully he's in after this game, because old manager probably bearing a little bit of a grudge, or he wants to show what we're missing. It's a recipe for disaster, isn't it? But yeah, Sunderland currently sat in 3rd, 2 points behind Wigan, and Wigan have got 3 games in hand. And Sunderland are also 5 points behind leaders Rotherham, who have a game in hand over Sunderland. So for me, Sunderland can't afford to drop many more points if top 2 is going to be the aim for them, if they're wanting to avoid the lottery of the playoffs. So I think this will be the start, the post-Johnson era, and they'll be wanting to push on and get as many points towards the end of the season. Unfortunately, after a 6-0 hammering at Bolton, and we've been hammered 5-0 by Rotherham, I think Sunderland will be the ones to react and get something out of this potentially. On to player profile for the Rovers. This video I've gone with our new signing, Rio Griffiths, 21-year-old centre forward, and that's not a bad CV, is it? Previous clubs of Tottenham and Lyon. Tipped to be a very, very good player in his early years. Lyon took a punt on him. He's been playing in their B team and he's not done too bad, but I think he's not lived up to the hype. So hopefully, coming back over to England in a team in a lower division, hopefully he finds that early form from his younger years. Career appearances, 199 of those at youth level. All his goals and assists have come at youth level. So in 99 appearances, 59 goals and 23 assists. So he's clearly got something about him. He came on against Rotherham and he looked okay, but it's tough to judge on that game because really no player came out of that with any sort of positivity surrounding them. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's about over the coming weeks. We've got a very tough February, crammed full of fixtures, so I'm sure we'll get to see him fairly regularly. So welcome to Doncaster Rovers, Rio Griffiths. Hopefully, as I say, you find that early form of your career and potentially still help us survive, but I can't see it. On to the opponents, one to watch, and I kind of touched on it earlier in the video. You know your club much better than what I do. Let me know if you think that I'm a mile off the mark. With this one, I've not really looked at this season's stats for Sunderland. I've gone with their new signing. It's what the papers have been talking about, and I think it's written for Jermaine Defoe to have a fantastic game against us. 39 years old, come back in from Rangers. He's only played around 10 minutes for Rangers this season, but his career record speaks for themselves. Career appearances 726, career goals 284, and career assists 61. And I think a big home crowd, every time he gets the ball, they'll be trying to suck the ball into the back of the net, and I think he'll get 1 or 2 goals on Saturday, in my opinion. So the one to watch, it's already written, isn't it? Jermaine Defoe. On to the predicted team lineup. This is thanks to FanHub. If you've not got the app yet, please go ahead and download it. Plenty of features to get your teeth stuck into. If you're stuck in the queue, please use the code 18D-ICJ to skip that queue and get straight in. And one thing that you can do is predict your team lineup for the upcoming fixture for your team. And this is my predicted team lineup for the Sunderland game. And I think we're going to change back to our system that we've seen the positivity in. I think Louis Jones will be back in goal. A back four of Noyle, Younger, Alowu and Jackson. At left back, I think Horton had a bit of a tough time against Ogbene. A midfield three of Galbraith, Smith and Rowe. And then a front three of Dodu, Martin and Odubeko. Potentially Odubeko switched with Dodu and Dodu off for Griffiths. So a couple of changes that may happen, but I think we'll be in that system and hopefully we can get something from that game. Moving on to the Predictions League table. If you're new to this, me and the family predict the scoreline for every league game. If we get the scoreline spot on, we get 3 points. If we get the outcome of the game but not the scoreline right, we get 1 point. If we get it completely wrong, we get no points. On Tuesday night, 2 of us went for a defeat, 2 of us went for a win. None of us got the scoreline spot on, so the 2 that went for defeats were myself and my dad. So we're still joint top, both on 20 points, and pulled away a little bit from Chris and Max. Max is third on 16 points, Chris is bottom on 14, but I'm sure changes will happen, especially over February when there's so many games. And finally, that takes me on to my score prediction, and this one, it's a tough one because of the inconsistencies that I've seen from Sunderland over the past couple of weeks. I don't think we're good enough to get a result from this, I'm afraid. I'm hoping to see a more positive performance and those signs of life again that we saw against MK Dons and Plymouth, but I believe Sunderland will be too much for us on the day. I'm hoping that there is a reaction from the Rotherham fixture. I think the reaction from Sunderland getting beat 6-0 will be much more, especially at home. So I think they're going to be I don't think it's going to be as heavy as what we got against Rotherham, but I do think it's going to be a comfortable 2-0. I don't know where our next points are coming from, to be honest, so it's going to be another tough preview after this one for Ipswich on Tuesday night, but that's my score prediction for this one. Sunderland 2, Doncaster 0. And that's where I'm going to leave it. If you've enjoyed it, please stick a big thumbs up on it for us, please. Comments in the section down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.